Hello and welcome back to Remnant 2. Last time we made it here to Root Earth and managed to actually find the sleeping enemy in this room, opposite corner here, and entered his dream and beat the hell out of him. And we got the item to make the Invader subclass archetype. Then beat a boss, got the ability to make the defrag weapon skill, which I said don't do it, it's not worth it. If you're going for completionist and you want to collect everything, fine. If not, don't touch it. It's garbage. It is absolute trash. But between episodes I ended up actually getting the Invader, got the Archon, and got the Handler. You just have to buy the Handler off of Mudtooth. That's who has it. So yeah, this character now has every archetype. I just actually have to sit down and level them. Which, if I were to level them and burn my 20 skill points on their archetype traits once I'm done using them, I'd probably go Engineer for armor effectiveness, and probably Hunter, or no, Gunslinger for ammo reserve increase. Because then if I have the ammo reserve increase, I can get rid of the deep pocket ring and probably grab maybe like Dead King's Memento. Something just to give me more health so that I can heal it. Ring of Crisis might not be a bad option or something like that, but I'd definitely make some adjustments. But we realistically have 2 bosses left, and then we're done. Oh yeah, this is the way back this way. So there's a few items scattered about. Flyweight's ring, this was one I'd mentioned, couldn't think of it before, but increases melee damage while armor encumbrance is below 50. Damage bonus increases with lower encumbrance, up to 25% at 0 weight. Why you would go 0 armor melee build, I don't know. But you can do it. Decayed Claws. They're melee weapons. Short of that, I have nothing. They're okay. When it comes to melee, I think you have a lot better choices out there. Probability Cord increases crit damage. So if you're doing a crit build, I feel like that's kind of a mandatory ring, because 30% damage bonus is not a minor amount.
Here they come.
Yeah, I didn't even buy the defrag, but also you can't really show it off in the training area because the enemies don't die, so nothing happens. It's just such a bad effect. I used it briefly and I was like, okay, this is kind of a waste. Kinetic Cycle Stone, what are you? Mod and skill cast speed by 20%. So that is more or less the Archon, like level 4. And at a certain point, you don't need to cast faster. You're gonna kind of cap out at one point or another. will summon here because the boss room line is right there. Kinda wish my summon would be able to, like, draw some aggro. Because Venom half the time does not care he's getting hit. Yay. Now, Dreadcore, that gives you Skewer. And Skewer is... when these guys... when he slammed on the ground and had all those spikes jut out of the ground, it's that. And you can either fire it at the ground and it'll linger as a trap for a few seconds, and then any enemy who steps over it gets hit with them. Or you can directly hit an enemy and then they just stick out in different directions. It's okay. I used it. It's serviceable. It's not the supreme option, but if you don't have Firestorm, you don't have the Farseer, you don't have anything like that, but you still want a weapon mod, it's not a bad option. Because unlike the Tremor ability or something like that, where it's ground-based, you can just fire Impale at flying enemies. Do I have the ring I'm thinking of? No, I don't. Okay.
Guess we're doing this the hard way.
Wait! It won't work!
Anomaly. Step aside.
You did it! We're here. This is our one chance. If we stop the brute here, it's done. For good.
Corruption eradicated.
I can break the shield, but it'll take everything I've got. I'll be powerless. All right. Once we do this, there's no turning back. Either you win, or
Say it.
it's the end of everything.
Anomaly. Your chance of success is greater than 0. I was attempting to reassure you.
Yeah, thanks. Very comforting.
Come on. Let's do this. You ready?
I'm ready.
I got this.
You must hurry.
Hey! Traveler! Kick some ass for me.
Let's heal up before we get into this fight. It's gonna be an interesting one. Why do I not have my ability? I will go back and rest then. I'm not going in without the slow. A little annoying. Yeah, this is a very peculiar fight. You gotta destroy the orbs or they'll launch at you and deal damage. Because I can, I won't even shoot him for the last hit.
Now you tell me?
I had hoped it would not come to this.
Come to what? Hey. Hey! There's gotta be a way! What are we doing here if there isn't a goddamn way?
Only two outcomes remain. The corruption consumes us all. Or
Keep! What's going on? Why isn't it staying dead?
the corruption is inviolate. Containment is no longer a viable option. The only outcome left is annihilation. To eradicate the corruption, the system must be restored.
Okay, what the hell does that mean?
It means wiping everything. Starting over.
Starting over? I thought we were trying to stop that from happening.
We have no choice. The root will destroy everything. For all time.
This is unexpected. I am reluctant to execute.
No. Keep. There's another way. Traveler! On me!
Clementine!
Yeah, we don't even fight the boss at this point, it's just wave clearing ads. Which is kind of a bummer. yeah, that was the ending. It's a bit abrupt, but the story for Remnant 2 as of this point is done. This is the base game. At this point, I'm just gonna kind of do final thoughts on what we have at the moment. If you're not interested in that, that's fine. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. Helps out the channel a lot. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. For everybody else, let's get into these final thoughts for this game. Also, I should show you the final weapon you get. Just remember that. Come on. Come on, McCabe.
What you got?
Can I even afford it? Yeah.
Bye.
Alpha Omega. But yeah, where to even begin with this game? There's a lot of cool stuff. Variety of relics with different abilities. The rings and amulets are a lot more interesting. The archetype system I absolutely love. I wish we had more skills because Summoner, even though we do have 3 summons, I wish we kind of had some other stuff. Engineer is in an even worse position because the Flamethrower is not worth it. The Impact Cannon is not worth it. The Vulcan is the only one worth using. Alchemist is a class that feels really weird because Frenzy Dust used to be an item. Stone Skin or Stone Mist wasn't an item, but these could have just been items. And Alchemist is another class where I feel like you need almost extra skills to make up for it and give you a lot of variety, because it's not just a raw support like Medic where all you do is heal. This is a buffer, and buffers need a lot of abilities. Explorer, it's kind of one of those things where you max it out, you get the tripped into the back rooms to get the Archon, and then you never really touch it again. The only good ability is Gold Digger, because you can create fountains that give team buffs. Hunter, Gunslinger, fine. Challenger's pretty neat. Invader works, but I'm not a big fan of the build. I'm not really sure how you'd really do it outside of like flat cloaking, and that could be really powerful. Archon is just caster, which works just fine. Increases mod damage, so you can get pretty stupid with that. Handler, you get a dog. Nope, I did not want that to be the way that goes. But yeah, so that's pretty good. The trait system, I wish we just had infinite trait points. Just let us go nuts. Who cares? What's the worst that happens? You get a somewhat stacked set of abilities, and then you can do harder difficulties and struggle less. I don't see a downside. I wish we'd get more ammo boxes, but I've never really felt like I need tons of ammo. The Alchemist getting concoctions is cool. This is something I just remembered. And making them last 2 hours. But this also feels weird because it's like, oh hey, one of your critical things or your key abilities relies entirely on burning money. And I feel that's just kind of a weird system. The... What do they call these? The mutators. I think the mutators were a great decision. Really help flesh weapons out, help flesh builds out. My problem being, once again, getting ammo directly into your magazine is just so powerful. It's hard to not use that. Or twisting wounds. Oh, you get bleed. Bleed's really good. And you can build around bonus damage against bleeding targets. When attacking a bleeding enemy, crit chance is increased by 15%, crit damage is increased by 30%. That's a good amount. And you can have the other ring here that increased crit chance, or not crit chance, crit damage. There's just a lot. Shield builds are essentially non-existent, which I think is a shame. I think running a shield build would be fun. The mods for the relic I think are really cool. I do wish it was easier to level them up, but I also get incentivizing players to max out all your archetypes, to challenge yourself at higher difficulties, because otherwise, yeah, you can get some crazy stat ups. So, I get it. The enemy types are fine. I do miss, like I said, the old bosses for the root. I miss Singe the dragon, I miss the giant stompy tree, the Ent. I even miss like Skullcracker, even though he was just one of the big melee guys. I miss the roly goblin dudes, when they weren't just roly goblins, but normal guys who charged at you, and the exploding ones. Root Rot felt like it barely existed, and it got just kind of shoved into Yeisha. And it's like, yeah, here's your thing. Because Yeisha used to be Shock. And now Shock's pretty much non-existent, except for a couple instances in Nerud. But there's that. One problem I do have is I don't like this resistance system. Part because we don't have cold anymore. We don't have radiation. Those were cool. Now we just have blights. And blights is a bunch of stuff just rolled together. Suppression, death, defrag. And it feels clunky to just be like, okay, here's all the divided up itemized stats, and then everything else, just shove it in this one spot. I get this came out and was in development during Elden Ring and before Elden Ring, so they couldn't just lift stuff directly, but I think Elden Ring did the best when it comes to armor and stat resistances. Having external afflictions, internal afflictions, mental, and then your supernatural arcane stuff, where you could have death and suppression. I don't like defrag. I think it's really stupid. I think it takes away the fun of the root. It changes them from what felt like a interesting enemy with their own element to just like they're like we live in a simulation. It's a computer virus, effectively. You downloaded linkingpark.exe off LimeWire and this is what happens. It just doesn't fit well. I miss Resium. I miss Corsus. I miss Rom. All those locations were cool. The bosses were cool. There was a lot to them. I miss the old weapons. Yeah, it's cool having them show up as rewards for completing higher difficulties, and even, I think, veteran difficulty hardcore. But at the same time, I look at it and I'm like, it didn't need to be this way. I get it, you want to add new places, but I just miss the old stuff. I miss cold damage. There's just little things like that from the first game that I thought were better. I do miss a lot of the weapon abilities, like the turret, and being able to have the dog through that, or summon the little goblin root dudes. Stuff like that was fun. It was interesting, and I think they could be things that would have been something you could play around with within the current archetype system. Like the turret. The turret could have counted for stuff for summoners. It could have also dipped into engineer. It could have had little bonus things like that. The game looks a lot better. I do like this kind of open area instead of the old hub from Remnant 1. Remnant 1, it was kind of annoying to be like, okay, I gotta go upgrade my gear, so now I have to run out, around, and into a side room, when this is just like, okay, you came here, there's your upgrades, there's your shops, pick a direction. Am I excited for DLC? Yeah, I'm interested to see what direction they're gonna go. Because there's a lot of cool stuff they could do, and I hope they do good stuff. I do miss having armor set bonuses, but I also understand getting rid of them, because people did not mix and match armor. But we also, I believe, only had 3 pieces of armor. I think at this point you could get away with actually having armor sets, because you could have 3 set bonuses and 2 piece bonuses, and then if you want to do 2 and 2, or a 1 set and then either a minor bonus or no bonus, that works. This is something I've talked about before in other videos. I can see this kind of Souls-like, Souls-adjacent, and even full-on Soulsborne genre eventually becoming a modified ARPG. And what I mean by that is something along the lines of Diablo. All gear having random stat rolls, mutators either being something you can slot in, or having different slots. Think of Path of Exile, where you have different colored slots and all that, and they could have different things, or getting an ability and then being like, okay, you can slot Fargazer in this, but you also can fit like a generic mutator or dedicated mutators that add additional effects to your weapon mod. So maybe it has greater area of effect. If it has one, it has more charges. It has lower requirement cost or mod cost. It might deal more damage. Things like that. I wish melee was still, or was, a more viable option. It still feels clunky. I feel like that kind of covers everything. The story is kind of weird for this. I feel like it ends very abruptly. Do I have a problem with it? No. I'll be honest, I don't really care about the story all too much. When I play this, I'm just like, hey, let me jump in and just start whooping people. Story is kind of on the side. Could it be better? Yeah. I do appreciate that modifiers on bosses are more of a thing. I love aberrations. I think they're a great addition. Turning normal enemies into bosses. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see even I guess we kind of already have it, but like a chalice dungeon system. Let me add modifiers. Maybe I want low difficulty, but I want every boss to have 3 or 4 modifiers on them. Maybe I want to add something where it's like I go to Nerud, but all enemies have a chance to inflict bleed or have a build-up effect on their attacks. I'm all for that. Let me change this up and make it as challenging or as easy as I want. I don't really want the survival mode, or not, it's not really survival, it's like their roguelike mode they had in the first game. I don't want that to come back, because I don't think it was well implemented. I don't think it was very fun. And in the first game they tied like some cosmetics but also some items to doing it. And that just sucked. It wasn't fun to do. You were really having a crapshoot of either you had people who knew what they were doing and you were just rolling, or you were stuck with dudes who didn't have a clue, who grabbed all the best weapons and armor, and you were just scavenging when stuff would drop, they'd pick up whatever, and you'd be left with, like, the starting gear, because they wouldn't share. I'm not a fan of that. Outside of that, I like this game. I think it's fun. It's worth getting, I think. It's definitely better with friends, but all games are. It does get a little tougher with friends, but it's nothing you can't manage. The end boss, I think they nerfed, because that end boss used to be way tougher. I don't like the end boss. I think the end boss sucks. I don't like the glitch effect where it'll transition between second phase and first phase at random. I don't think that's a fun mechanic. It's different, but when you're prepped for one thing and suddenly it just switches and the boss comes hurtling down and hits you, it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel engaging. Remnant 1's boss, if you watch my playthrough, it's a fun mechanic. You get teleported to the Shadow Realm, you have to kill enemies to get stacks of a buff, and then you come out and deal extra damage against the boss for a little bit. And then you have to survive, get banished, do it all over again. It's a nice, consistent cycle, and once you learn the mechanic, it becomes very fun. And if you did like me, you put your turrets down in there, they chew through guys, you get ammo, you hop out with a ton of stacks in a very short time, and you just demolish. I hope the DLC is good. I don't think this game will live or die by its DLC, but I think it will definitely sway people to come back if the DLC is good. If the DLC is bad, if it's passable, if it's another Swamps of Courses, people aren't going to bother. And I'll be honest, Swamps of Courses should never have happened. A DLC that just expands boss fights for an existing area and adds some extra items is a waste. You either need to expand the area a ton, or you need to just add a new area. And I think that's what Gunfire needs to do with this game, is just add new areas. I don't care if I go back to Resum, or I go back to Courses, if I go back to ROM. Those are fine. I'd love to go back. Give me new enemies, give me new fights. Another, I think this is probably my last bit here, is, and I've said it before, status effects that don't affect the enemy. Suppression, stuff like that, should not be a thing. They are kind of a dick move. Even if they have a varied effect for affecting the enemy, I don't care, just make it a thing. Root Rot being a waste on enemies is stupid. Oh, it makes damage over time clouds. When it procs on enemies, then they should occasionally create a damage over time cloud around them. It's like gas in Warframe that does an AoE poison debuff. Do that. Suppression, you could find something. It reduces enemy abilities or reduces their damage output. Something like that. Radiation could do something. Curse could do something. Because it sucks just getting hit with Curse and being like, well, I never get to use this on anybody. I'd love to have some, like, phantom sword that's a cursed blade that inflicts curse on enemies. I'd love to have a weapon that fires cursed munitions. That would be fun. I'd like to see new weapon types. The bows are cool, but I think you can even go further. The bone saw being a light machine gun, that should be its own class of weapon. I don't see a problem with that. More variety never hurts. And if it were to go into a more ARPG design, that would just feed into it. Trying to think what else. Because my big hang-up was the status effects. Short of that, yeah, that's really about it. Solid game, has some underlying problems. They won't be fixed. If we're being honest, it would be complete reworks. That would be intangible for devs. The best we can hope for is a sequel that improves on all this. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.